I had a long-planned vacation. My boyfriend and I were supposed to go to the coast in July, but everything changed. My boyfriend, Daniel, was unexpectedly called away on a business trip for 2 weeks, and I ended up going to the sea alone. The tickets had been bought a long time ago, and the hotel room was already paid for, so I decided, why not? During the week spent at the seaside, I had time to explore various excursions, swim to my heart's content, and really relax. During the vacation, I made a new friend, Rachel, and we spent our evenings together, going to cafes and bars, drinking delicious cocktails, and dancing the night away. It was one of the best vacations I've had in a long time, and I was so happy. Rachel and I laughed a lot, shared stories, and even discovered a few nooks and crannies that weren't on the usual tourist map. We found a cozy little cafe that served the most delicious pastries and made it our little spot for morning coffee. However, on the last day of vacation, I was feeling a little sad. I just didn't want it to end. So on the last night before I left home, I decided to buy a bottle of champagne, sit on the beach alone, listen to the sea, and enjoy its beauty. By the time I reached the beach, it was already dark. The moonlight reflected off the waves, giving everything a magical glow. I sat down on the sand right by the water and decided to call Daniel. We talked for a while, and I told him how much I missed him and wished he was there for me. He told me about his day, we joked around a bit, and I felt a little closer to him despite the distance. After talking, I opened the champagne and took a few slow sips, letting the gentle sound of the waves calm my mind. It was peaceful and I felt good. The champagne added some warmth and I just sat there, completely immersed in the moment. After a while, I noticed a guy sitting a little further down the beach. He seemed to be alone and we exchanged a few glances, curious but hesitant. Eventually he approached. His name was Jack, and he was trying to distract himself from the breakup with his girlfriend of several years. He looked a little lost, and I realized he needed someone to talk to. I offered him a seat next to me, and we ended up chatting for what seemed like hours. We talked about everything: life, relationships, our favorite places to travel. He told me he was leaving the next day too, and we both found comfort in each other's company. We reminded each other that we could always come back to this place if we wanted to. It was a pleasant thought, and it made the evening feel a little less complete. At some point, we started running barefoot along the shoreline. The sand was cool under our feet, and the waves occasionally splashed against our ankles. Jack picked me up in his arms, carried me on his back, and then in his arms. It was playful and lighthearted, and we laughed like we'd known each other for years. Then he decided to go for a swim, but I didn't feel like joining him. I was too drunk after drinking champagne. Instead, I lay on the sand, feeling carefree and happy, and watched him swim in the moonlight. When Jack emerged from the water, he looked incredibly trim and handsome, the water droplets glistening on his skin. He walked over to me, smiling broadly, and before I knew it, he was playfully climbing on top of me. The cool drops of water fell on my warm skin, and it felt surprisingly nice. He must have noticed this because he lowered himself closer to me, and we lay together looking up at the stars. The sky was so clear, and the stars were like tiny diamonds scattered across the dark cloth. We talked about our dreams, our hopes for the future, and what we wanted to change in our lives. There was something so intimate about sharing these thoughts with a complete stranger. The tranquility of the moment was broken when he suddenly leaned over and kissed me. It was unexpected, but I didn't pull away. I never thought I would be in a situation like this, kissing a stranger on the beach in the open air. But in that moment it felt right. At first the kiss was gentle, almost hesitant, but then it got deeper, and I realized I was getting lost in it. The sound of the waves, the cool night air, and the warmth of Jack's body came together, and I realized that I would never forget that moment. After that, we lay in silence, just holding each other and enjoying the last few hours before we both had to go back to our normal lives. Eventually, we got up and Jack walked me back to the hotel. We hugged goodbye, and there was a bittersweet feeling in the air. We knew we probably wouldn't see each other again, but we accepted it. It was a perfect moment that didn't need anything more than that. I watched him walk away and felt a strange sense of peace. Sometimes it's the fleeting connections that make the biggest impact.